Hello, welcome guys. Welcome to our YouTube channel. So today we will start from our new journey. We will upload the coming videos we will explore about the more opportunity in cloud and AI related things. So today I will show you about the more some important document how you can secure your infrastructure in a cloud infrastructure in your organization. What are the capability in Azure we have we can explore in a one by one, so you can understand what is the benefits for this. Let me share my screen, guys. Hope you are seeing my screen. So this is a enterprises document I have created, so you can understand very clearly. Like nowadays, every organization is moving into on-prem to the cloud. So if we are they going to the cloud, so obviously they need to know about the security, how we can configure our infrastructure in a very securely manner. So this is the most important today's life. So here we will cover about the Azure IAM, what are the capability we have in Azure security wise. So there are major things. If you see here, documentation I have clearly mentioned here. So Azure Identity and Access Management, basically it's called the IAM, is a framework of policy and technology in Microsoft Azure design to ensure that the right individual and entries have the correct access to resources. So Azure IAM encompasses the various tools and service to manage a user identity, enforce access and policy and protect the organization. So there are some key components in Azure IAM. So we can see here like Azure Active Directory. It's called the Azure AD. So what is Azure AD? So this is a centralized identity management for cloud. If you have a large amount of users, how you can manage that user? So it will very difficult to manage each and every user. Like you have to assign any specific role. Let's say example, if you have a separate team like HR team, account team, IT team. Like IT, we have also like other like networking team. Sometimes we have also core team, core infra team, as well as a business team. So based on the client requirement, you have to set up the permission. So on that scenario, Azure AD, it will give you more capability. So using that, you can assign the integrate application as well as access based on the client requirement. We can access there. So yeah, so this is Azure AD is the foundational service for the identity management, providing a single directory for the user account, group and activity. So we can assign the policy like a group level as well as individual user, we can also assign that one. So there are more capability we have. And there are also we have option like single sign on SSO. So it will allow user to sign in one and access multiple application and service without repeated authentication. So if in Azure AD we have created one specific user, so using that credential you can assign the integrated application access. For example, if you have a third party or any application you have configured in organization, so if you configure the SSO, in one credential you can log into the multiple application, multiple environments. So it's called the SSO. So it will help you to reduce the password redundancy. If you have a multiple application, it will be very difficult to manage each and every password. So if you configure this single sign-on SSO, so it will easier for us to log in as well as access that application. So other things we have like multi-factor authentication. It's called it called the MFA. Like it will enhance the security by requiring the two or more from the verification during the sign-in. So for example, if you are logging to the Azure portal or any application, so it will give you more flexibility, like you can sign in through the SMS or call. So when you are logging, it will give you the authentication, like you have to mention our that it will receive the one OTP. You have to mention that OTP. Once you put that OTP, you can log in that particular environment. So it will very secure your login using MFA. So there are other things. We have a rollback success control. So it called the RBAC, like it is in Azure, like we can say as a customer rollback. So it will give you the access depends on the your specific requirement. Sometimes maybe happen one of the scenario, like you have to give the any particular L1 or L1 level user, they can only restart that particular VM. So it is a like one custom access, we can say that. So for that scenario we can use RBAC. So it will give you the more flexibility to do the particular task. So in RBAC enable you to sign in roles to group user, group and application, controlling access to resource and delay level, as well as built in the custom role. Use a predefined role or create a custom role to download the specific needed. So that we have already discussed about this. Then other thing we have like condition access policy. So condition access policy, basically it will access the policy. uh, Conditional access policy enforce the access control based on the user conditions such as the location, device, data, and risks, as well as adapt the access, adjust the access requirement dynamically based on the real-time clicks and assessment. For example, you have organization, you have a like your your particular application and running in a specific location, we can say. Let's say example, you have organization running all the application in the separately in a US region and India region, we can say that. Or one of the, and if that particular user, your organization user are going to a different location and they are trying to access that environment, so he cannot able to access the environment because we have configured the condition access policy. So it will give you the more flexibility that we can lock the access based on the location as well as particular device. We can restrict the policy based on the which particular user can log in only specific yeah, only specific thing. Like for example, they need only Windows or Mac kind of desktop, then they can also log in. Like it depends on the policy what you configure. So based on that, we can user can access the environment. So another thing, like if for example, if the user is going to the different location and any criticality they need access, so that scenario we have to configure the another thing like the risk sanguine policy. Once you configure the risk sanguine policy, so what will happen, user have to reset their password, and then they can log into the that specific uh, location as well. As so we have a flexibility in Azure. So based on our requirement, we have to configure that. So it will give you more flexibility according that. So it is a very good for option we have our organization. We can configure that one. So another thing we have a PIM, like privilege identity management. It is a most of the scenario it will use. There are the capability, like we can say in just time and access, like temporary relevant access user permission to critical tasks, including the risks and providing the relevant access. So what we need a PIM role. For example, if your organization have a sometimes it happen, you need a privilege access, like to configure the any critical thing. Let's say example, one of the our scenarios happen. We are like we configuring the hybrid setup like SFTP server for our vendor environment, like that third party vendor can access our internal internal SFTP server to store the data. So that scenario, what happened? We need a network administrator access, network contributor to configure the VPN setup, and that time we don't have a particular access, so we configure the PIM in our automation. We have configured the PIM. We can go to the intra. Once you enable this role, you have to give the permission like requirement. We have to set up the give the proper clarification which role you knew we need, and we have to give the proper confirmation as well as like why you need that particular role. Once you enable that role, we have to active. Once you active, we can do our task like whatever your requirement. So it will give you the more like time flexibility as well as it will give you the inputs. So once you do your work, so it will automatically reduce your access. So we can say it is a more flexible rule because it will remove the flexibility on that dependency on the particular team. Let's say sometimes that team is busy on another work, or like they will take a lot of time to give the access. They uh, ask you the like why you need access, and it will go always to the like we can say the permission different thing. So better than that, we if you enable this PM rule, so it will easier to do your work. And is that okay? Access review and alert regularly review and monitor privilege access to ensure compliance and security. Yeah, so uh, in your admin or like the security team, they will also like the this access like who enabled this role and what he did. So in the single sign-in policy as well as it will show all the details like what exactly the particular user are doing if we enable that role. So we can track there because in audit once we need this details. Yeah, so manage identity, we have a service identity. Will provide identity to the Azure resource to access other Azure services without the managing credential, as well as simplify the authentication, like eliminate to the need to handle secret and key to the resource authentication. So we have option as well as, and the thing like we have Azure AD identity production, it will have a capability like threat detection like. Use on machine learning to detect the response to the suspicion and activity and protection threat to user identity. Then we have also automate remediation. Automatically take actions such as recruiting the password change or enforcing the MFA in a respond to detect the risks. So this security and for the Azure IAM like the principle of Levi's privilege like create a user and application to minimum permission necessary to perform their function, reducing the risks and unauthorized the access. So use a multi-factor authentication like require MFA to all the user, especially those with the privileged access to add the additional layer of security and regularly review the access permission like conduct the periodic access review to ensure the user have appropriate permission privilege with their current role. Leverage credential access policy including conditional access policy to the enforce additional security and ensure based on the behavior and environment setup. So monitor the audit log. So as we already discussed about the continuously monitor the user activities in audit success log and detect the response and okay, so enable privileged identity management that PIM that we have already discussed about, like use a PIM to manage the monitor and control access to critical resource and ensure the timely review the privilege function. So these are the things we have in Azure capability. So these things we have already discussed. So in upcoming days we will planning to show more the real infra in the real company, how they configure each and everything we will discuss. So we have some, like I have some freelancer project as well as, so I will try to give the more content, like how organization are configure their policy in such a way. See, every organization not only depend on the specific, like we can say as a particular cloud. There was some internal data center as well as firewall and OTA, checkpoint, antivirus. So these all things we have to think about, and based on that, organization will configure their security things. So we will discuss these things in the one by one. So hope it will give you the little bit idea about Azure cloud security, as well as we will see about our upcoming videos, like what we have to cover in our coming days. So okay guys, so feel free to connect if you have any doubt. So please comment on this section. Thank you guys. Thank you.